Guild Wars 2 is not what it seems, but hear me out. If you're new around here, I'm a long-term MMORPG player. I played WoW for around 15 years. I played Final Fantasy for the last year, but lately I've been wanting to branch out and try other MMORPGs. And now we're trying Guild Wars 2. This is part 2 of the playthrough I'm working on. I'll link part 1 below if you do want to start from like the start and the very first impressions. But at the end of the last video, I only really got to like level 15, unlocked the talents, completed a couple of maps, and did the start of the story, the level 10 story. And I've fallen pretty hard into this game now. It has completely sucked me in. I've played so much and I've got to around level 60 in the first week. And there's so many things I want to talk about in this video because it has surprised me on a whole other level. The first thing I think is the most surprising and most important, and that is the story. My expectations for the story were extremely low. I've heard so little about Guild Wars 2, whether that's just like bad marketing or no word of mouth, or there's problems at endgame, or there's something why the word is not spreading about this game being so good. But I've heard even less about the story. I had no idea what it was about. Before even playing Final Fantasy XIV, I knew the rough things of what the story was about. Guild Wars 2, I had no clue. And I think the story is so slept on. It's so underrated, and I'm still only really at the beginning. So picking up from the level 20, I was at level 20 Sylvari, that's kind of the last video ended. You basically continue your main race story. I'm not sure how all the different races work, but as a Sylvari, you're working towards your goal of fighting this big undead dragon. That's like your dream, your goal as a Sylvari. And like I said, the story was alright, pretty interesting, voice acted, but nothing too amazing. But then coming up to the level 30, something pretty interesting happens. You're introduced to these 3 factions who all have their own way of doing things, and you get to test them out with little missions that ultimately leads to you picking one of them as your faction. And you had the primary, scholars, the vigil army, and then the Order of Whispers. And I'd be lying if I wasn't heavily influenced by how hot and mysterious and charismatic the leader of the vigil was. And I tried them all out, and even with that, the vigil seemed to lead to huge fights, and it was just right up my street. So there's one mission where you stand with the vigil defending this little keep, and you get to choose who does what in the fight, and it just felt really cool, man. I was totally sold on the vigil. There was like the stealthy guys, not really my cup of tea, and then there was the technology and smarter group. I don't really know what they're all about because I only really went with the vigil, but yeah, that's where the main quest ended and the faction quest started. I assume all of the races do a similar thing and everyone comes together at 30, but yeah, it really surprised me that this leads to 3 different stories. I'm not sure how interlinked they are, like if you're doing the Order of Secrets or whatever they're called, Order of Whispers, did they come and do the same kind of things as what you do in the vigil? I don't know. I'd love to know in the comments, so let me know if you know, are they completely separate, or do they just weave in and out of the same kind of path to the end? Yeah, I really want to make another character like an Azura, do the Azura starting missions, and then go with like the Priory and just see how it's different, because I feel like it's just so much replayability. But yeah, the story, I'm blown away. I love it. It's not huge or emotional, or it doesn't invoke any massive emotions or feelings, or it doesn't try and push you in any sort of way. And I just know it's leading up to the dragon. I'm enjoying the journey, learning about the races and the factions, leveling up my rank in the vigil. And it reminds me a lot of Dragon Age Origins. I had to go out and find allies for the coming fight, and your choice has led you on different paths and interacted differently with different things, and it's just really good. But then level 50 happened. The level 50 story. At the time of recording this, I've just done it, and I was like, right, it's time to make a video. This was wild. There's a huge assault on a base. This is obviously a level 50 spoiler for the story if you're new. It's not. It's a mild spoiler, I guess. But there's a huge assault on a keep, basically. A keep outside of a main city is assaulted by undead, and you have to go there and help them protect it. You tour the fort. They take you on a tour of the base, show you all their armies, tell you about all the defenses. You see 50 cannons lined up along the side of the castle walls. You see these huge trebuchets, and they tell you how like defended they are and how no one can penetrate this base. And then a huge assault happens. All these undead roam the beaches, and then these huge undead ships appear, launching big monsters into the keep. You battle with everyone to defeat them, fight your way to the trebuchets, and then boom, you take out this big undead ship, and then loads more spawn. And it's just such an epic moment. You feel yourself getting overrun. You're trying to fight and getting pushed back. You're seeing characters die all around you. And it just felt so immersive and exciting. And yeah, I was completely blown away, completely engrossed in it. And I'm so excited to see where the story leads to 80 and how they handle the expansions, because I'm still very, very early in the game. Yeah, so story has completely surprised me. The other thing I want to talk about in this video is dungeons. I'm still not so sure on dungeons. They feel really fun, but really chaotic. So far, I've only done the first one, which is over on like the right side of the map. We joined a party finder group and a couple of people joined and just speed ran through it, just deleted everything. But the second one, I was like, I want to do it with people who actually let us like read the story, and we'll take our time. We did it on stream with some friends, and it was actually really fun. It was called Cudicus's Manor, and it was just really good. There's some cool parts to it, like investigating and finding out who did it. There's a part where we use like a mirage ability skill to like sneak around a bunch of mobs, which was really cool. We entered one room, and there was like a whole like rifle firing squad up on the top of this barn, and you could pick up a rifle and like sneak in and shoot them. It was just so interesting to have that in the middle of a dungeon. And overall, that dungeon was great. The boss fights still feel kind of chaotic. I don't feel like I'm having much of an impact other than just using my abilities. I don't feel like I'm stunning at the right time or rolling at the right time. And I guess that'll all combo in. I don't feel like that's happening yet. But that's probably me not really knowing all the skills and stuff. But yeah, the dungeon was fun. And then we went in again and tried the explorer mode. Originally, I thought this was just meant you go and explore it with no monsters to see what the location looks like. But yeah, this means you go in again and you do the dungeon after the events of the first dungeon you did. So say you go in and do the dungeon of the manor and you beat the boss. The next time you go in, the boss is defeated and now you're doing the follow-up to it. And there's different paths in there, and it's just a really cool way of doing it. I was quite surprised by it. Very much like hard modes in Final Fantasy XIV, but yeah, an interesting take on them. I'm not sure how prominent dungeons are at endgame, but if they're as fun and challenging and interesting as these are, I'm going to be really, really excited for it. Combat then. Sitting at around 60, I've got a ton of talent points unlocked. I've done down a specialization path in dueling and illusions, maybe? In my original video, I said that combat felt confusing and kind of dry, and I take that back. Combat has got so fun. After around 30 or 40, it finally started to feel comfortable. I had a staff, which was good for like AoE spells. I could make like a temporal damage storm and then switch to a greatsword and laser people down. It just feels really fun. And then you've got all the abilities on the right side, and there's now enough to switch and change. Do I want stealth? Do I want portals? Do I want damaging abilities? Do I want to change the healing spell? And I finally feel like I can change stuff to interact with what I'm going into. Am I going to fight a big solo boss? Let's get all the things I need. Am I soloing or with a group? Let's get the things I need. Am I just traversing the map and need things to teleport around faster? And I really, really like that. Like I say, coming from Final Fantasy, your class is your class. There's no customization. So I really like having this in an MMO, and it feels really fun to be able to customize things. Again, I've got no idea how they balance this or if it's even balanceable at endgame, but it's just fun to level with. It feels fun. I'm having a great time, and combat is finally starting to feel immersive. And then someone told us about the finisher system. I don't know what it's actually called, but it's where like if you set up a wall of fire and then shoot an arrow through it, that fire becomes a fire arrow and deals fire damage. This I thought is incredible. So I tried it out. We had an elementalist and a mesmer, and seeing what we could use and set up, and it's just really, really good. It feels chaotic in fights, and I've got no idea what's going on, but when you're fighting and you see little hearts pop up that say like burning, confusion, it's great to know you're comboing with someone or with yourself. And coming from a tab targeting game like WoW or Final Fantasy, we never really had that. Everything is much more linear to knowing what you're doing, whereas this just feels chaotic. Someone could throw something down somewhere and you could shoot through it, or someone could drop something on you that powers one of your abilities up, and it's just chaos. And I'm struggling to see what's on the floor at all times, but it's good to know that you are comboing, even if I can't really interact with it. All I know is that when it lights up, that's the option to combo, so I smash it as soon as I see it. But yeah, really, really good. Speaking about chaotic things that I have no control over, jump puzzles, man. What the heck are these jump puzzles? I've got a friend who's played this game for years. Every time we stream, they take us to another jump puzzle, and they're really fun, but they are breaking me, man. I'm so bad. I didn't realize how many they were and how hard they could be. So far, I think we've done 4. The hardest was definitely like this underground one. We had to jump on steam vents and climb up this big steam balloon thingy. It was really hard. I was even taking advantage of the mesmer portals to kind of cheese my way back up if I fell. whenever it was off cooldown, and it still took me over an hour to get up here. These puzzles are hard. Maybe I need to re-roll as an Azura to be more nimble, but I'm struggling. Jump puzzles seem big in this game, and I want to get better at them, but they seem hard. The last thing, crafting. I've told about a lot of things that feel chaotic and crazy, and I can't really control them, and I'm a bit confused. But one thing feels like home. One thing feels comfortable and fun, and I'm in love with it. Crafting. No one told me crafting was this fun. When I was playing Final Fantasy, the first thing I did when I got to max level was become an Omnicrafter, which basically means getting every single crafter to max level. So, like a moth to a flame, I've got a little hooked on the crafting system in Guild Wars 2. It works exactly the same as WoW on the surface. You level up through ranks. Orange gives you levels, and once you exhaust that, you have to learn a new spell. You have to learn a new craft, which will then level you up as you progress. So like copper will level you up to a certain level, and then you can no longer gain experience from copper, and you have to move up to bronze or silver or whatever it is. I went with dual crafting because it seemed really, really cool. And there are two things here that are great, really great. One, the discovery system. I've not seen something this good in an MMO. I think there's a similar thing in ESO, but I really like how they do it in Guild Wars. It makes you feel really immersed in that craft. Like, I don't think we're ever going to reach a point where we're playing an MMO and you get to physically start crafting and making the intricate things. I think the closest thing to a really, really intricate crafting system is maybe something like RuneScape, where it's very, very detailed on like a micro level. But what they do have here is something that makes you feel like you're actually making the items. So I took dual crafting. I thought it seemed really cool, really fun, and I really like that in these sort of games. So what normally happens is you smelt ore and you get jewels, and then you go to your trainer at like level 10, and he'll say, hey, now you can make silver rings of damage. And you go, cool, and then you make them. And then as you level up, you learn new things. But here you get to say gold, and it'll say, right, now you can make gold jewelry. So you make a gold band for your finger, and you make a gold fitting to put a gem in, and then you find the gems that you've found out in the world in these ores, and you go to the discovery tab and you go, here's a fitting, here's a ring, and here's this gem. You pick a gem at random, and it goes, now you've just made ring of healing plus 20, and you discover it yourself, and then the ring becomes an item you can make in the future. And that every single ring is like that, and every single earring and every jewelry item is like that. And then the jewels, you can hit them in a thing that makes the jewel stronger, and then you can then put that in a ring, and then that's a new item completely. Just it's very, very addictive, very immersive, and I'm hooked. I'm really hooked. My jewel crafting is like 300 already. I literally sat there and just grinded it out because I was just so into it. I just love it. I get so excited when I can go back to town with an inventory full of ores and gems and craft loads of cool new things. I don't know, really surprised me. Really, really surprised me. And then the only other thing that I don't know if I'm happy about, I don't know, surprising, but I don't know if I'm happy about, is that crafting levels you up. I don't think I've seen it in many MMORPGs where crafting directly gives you huge lumps of combat experience. I feel like I'm leveling maybe too fast. I'm not sure. There's many zones to level in, many dungeons, explorer dungeons. You can take two crafting skills. There's story missions, and I feel like I'm just flying through the levels. I'm level 60. I've only done 2 dungeons. But yeah, it feels good that you can pick and choose what you want. But the only problem is I'm enjoying everything, and I want to do everything. So yeah, it feels weird that I can sit in a city and gain 10 levels just from crafting. But hey, yeah, it is what it is. And I think that covers pretty much everything I've done, really. Mostly crafting, story, exploring more of the world. There's still so much I haven't done. Guild Wars 2 just feels so sleeped on as an MMORPG. I don't know why more people aren't talking about it, playing it, hyping it up. I don't know why more people aren't saying, hey, have you tried Guild Wars 2? The same way everyone was pushing Final Fantasy when I was playing WoW. The same way an expansion comes out for Elder Scrolls and everyone's talking about it, everyone's hyping it up, it skyrockets to the top of Twitch, it's in my recommended on YouTube, and it seems to be everywhere. It's always in adverts, and I don't know, I always feel like it's pushed around when it's out. But Guild Wars, I didn't even know they had an expansion this year until my friend said, hey, the expansion's pretty good. completely off my radar. It feels like it's just hidden somewhere, but it's so good and it should be shared and shouted about, and I'm confused. It worries me that maybe there's something big at the end that is not good, that's making people level, put it down and never go back. I'm not sure. I really don't know, but the leveling experience alone, the time I've put in, is honestly 10 out of 10. Like I say, I'm around like 60 now. I've got a few more dungeons still to do that are behind me, like the 40-50 dungeon. I've got loads more story to do, loads of zones to do. I haven't even hit the first expansion. PvP, other cities, big group content. I still haven't done any of that. But yeah, I'm going to keep making these videos as we progress through the game. So let me know in the comments if you're still enjoying these, or if there's anything you think we should try and do before the first expansion maybe, or anything that you've seen in the videos that look like I'm doing wrong. Because yeah, I'm new and I'm just going where feels fun. I'm not following any guides or anything. I'm just kind of doing my own thing. So yeah, let me know. And feel free to follow on Twitch if you want to join in live, or come join us for dungeons or the story, or just hang out. But that's it. Take care everyone, and I'll catch you in the next one.